Joined by TSN Overdrive host Bryan Hayes. All eyes are on Kansas City, and not just because of Taylor Swift. The reigning back-to-back champions have won 3 of the past 5 Super Bowls, cementing their dynasty, and they may not be done yet. Kansas City now has a chance to do something that's never been done before in the NFL, win 3 consecutive Super Bowls. But as Tom Brady said, there's a reason why nobody's ever been able to do it. Hayes, what do you see as the biggest obstacles to a Kansas City Chiefs three-peat?
Well, one of them you just referenced there, history, right? History tells you this is very difficult, bordering on impossible in the NFL. Bordering on impossible in pro sports in general. You look at the big 4 sports, Dave. The last time we saw a three-peat, that was the Lakers in the early 2000s, Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal. So it's been a long time since we've seen this. So history would suggest bet against the Kansas City Chiefs. But recent history would tell you that's foolish to bet against the Chiefs. And as far as I'm concerned, the only thing stopping this team is self-inflicted wounds. If they beat themselves, if Mahomes somehow has an off year, that seems impossible, but maybe he has an off year. Maybe the offensive line struggles, injury struggles. Last year, their defense was immense. It was stout. Maybe the pass rush not as good. Maybe the secondary, which we know took a hit in the offseason, takes a step back. But as far as I'm concerned, the odds makers know where this is going. I follow suit. I think it's the Chiefs' Super Bowl to lose this year.
Yeah, if there was a time to bet against the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, it probably would have been about the midpoint of last season. And of course, we know how all that ended. But one of the things I'm interested in watching is the transition on offense here. Last year, Patrick Mahomes basically was a short yardage quarterback. I mean, in fact, on completions over 20 yards, he was one of the worst in the AFC. And so now they've tried to address that, right? They're going to try and stretch the field. They've got Hollywood Brown. They went out and got Xavier Worthy, who ran the fastest 40 in the history of the NFL Combine. Now, the history of guys who light up the NFL Combine for speed, very mixed. In fact, you might say it kind of skews towards the negative. So they are making a transition on offense. Everybody understands what they're trying to do. Give Travis Kelce more room underneath. Their screen game is already elite. If they can stretch the defense with those 2 guys, I think they can be a much better team on offense. But you are talking about 2 receivers added to the offense who are going to be starters, who don't have a history with Mahomes. One of them's a rookie, and it's all about speed, and speed doesn't always translate into success in the NFL.
It doesn't always, but I would go back and look at how many of those combine burners were being thrown by Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm willing to bet Mahomes finds a way to make that work and make the timing work. And I think Travis Kelce factors in here significantly. During the regular season last year, he was basically waiting for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like his stats would indicate that, his numbers, maybe the body language at times. There were questions, okay, what's going on with this guy? How committed is he? When they got to the playoffs, that guy looked like exactly who we've seen for a long, long time, for a decade. One of the greats, maybe the greatest pass-catching tight end of all time. That's all they need out of him. Because let's not forget what's going on in the division. I don't think they're getting pushed. Denver, I don't think, is legit. No. I think Vegas, they're, what are they, 8 wins, 9 wins? But I don't think they're pushing Kansas City. Harbaugh showed up in L.A., but I think it's going to take a year or 2 for him to really morph that into a powerhouse. This division might be on a platter for them anyway. 10 wins might get them to the playoffs. You put this team in the playoffs, what they proved this year was significant for me. You know they can win an Arrowhead. You know they can do that. They did that throughout the first 3 or 4 years of Mahomes' career. They went into Buffalo and won. They went into Baltimore and won. They've proven they can win at home. More importantly, they've proven they can win on the road. All they have to do is make the playoffs. If they do that, I'm not betting against Mahomes and Andy Reid.
You said the Chiefs are the only thing that can beat the Chiefs. I think the Ravens can beat them. I think the Bengals can beat them, and I can beat Buffalo can beat them. And I'm not saying they will, but if you look at that playoff track that they made last year. Yeah, they blew up Miami in the freezer in Kansas City, but then it's a 3-point win over Buffalo. It's a 7-point win over the Ravens, who that game was won on defense. They held the Ravens to 10 points, and they win the Super Bowl in overtime. So in every one of those games, you're talking about
thinnest of margins.
2-3 plays.
Thinnest of margins.
2-3 plays.
And self-inflicted wounds on the other side, right? We know what happened in Buffalo. They missed the kick. Baltimore, they started slow. They had opportunities in that second half at home. They panicked, and they couldn't get the job done. I agree. There are very good teams in the AFC, and there's very good quarterback and coach combinations, which I think is important here. We know what Mahomes and Reid represent. McDermott can be maligned in Buffalo, but he's a good coach. Josh Allen. Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson are studs. I want to see Joe Burrow back on the field. But if he gets back to where he was 2 or 3 years ago, we know he can beat Patrick Mahomes at Arrowhead. That's substantial. I agree with you. The conference he plays in, lots of great quarterback play, lots of really good coaches. Those teams we mentioned, good defenses too. They will be pushed. But Kansas City's been pushed in the past, and they've always had an answer for it.
Okay, we referenced Tom Brady off the top. He never won 3 consecutive Super Bowls. If Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs can do that, does he become the greatest of all time? Can we declare that at this stage of his career, since no one else has lined up and done 3 in a row in the history of this trophy?
I don't think I would be there quite yet, because what Brady represented was longevity, and he had waves of greatness, right? When he first got in there for Bledsoe, and then the second wave, and then the third wave, then he goes to Tampa. He had 4 or 5 great chapters, and Mahomes, he has to probably do this for another decade to truly get to a point where I think you can match the two. But it is all about Brady. I think that's really what's incredible here about what Mahomes has established. It's not about Manning anymore, not about Montana anymore, not about Elway or Unitas or any of those guys. It's like he is focused in on Tom Brady. The GOAT is standing there, and he's chasing him. And I think it would be a massive, massive accomplishment and a massive bullet for him to be able to play a trump card at the end of his career to say, I did something Tom Brady didn't. And if he does it now, who's to say he won't do it again? That second, third, fourth chapter. And if he does, Dave, I think he's definitely got his sights on the GOAT, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if we were a decade from now and it wasn't even a conversation anymore. He's that good.
Well, 3 in a row for Patrick Mahomes would certainly put him ahead of Tom Brady at this stage of his career. But as you say, Tom Brady's advantage in that debate, it's a long, long road to go. And in football, things can change and sometimes end very quickly. In the 6 seasons with Patrick Mahomes as the full-time starting quarterback, the Chiefs have finished with at least 11 wins in every one and have yet to fail to make the AFC Championship game.